Food science is not about making things nutritious and wonderful and good for us. Food science is about making things palatable and have a long shelf life. Now we think it's just like, oh, these scientists are figuring out what the best thing for us to eat is. That is a lovely thought.
In regards to the obesity sort of thing, we had a body positivity advocate come on, and she was great. We had a great conversation with her. The one issue I had with Heidi's argument, which I have no problem with her being fine with being obese or the body shaming. I don't want to see anyone be shamed for their appearance. But she had made an argument of what is healthy. Like, how can we say that obesity is healthy? Because maybe that's not healthy. That maybe that's their form of healthy. And my pushback was, no, we can see in data and science that being obese is not good for your health at all. And we're seeing this again. You can use the pandemic as an example. I think it was 76% of the deaths were in the obese category and stuff. So
and admissions to ICU. There's like 70% of admissions to ICU were obese
through the pandemic.
I just so. For COVID,
yeah. So I mean, but in general, obviously, it is an issue, I think not to shame obesity and not to shame people for being fat, but to try and suggest that obesity and being obese isn't unhealthy. I think that's probably just as dangerous as the fat shaming that can go into people and the mental health issues it can cause. But can we talk about some of the actual medical issues that obese people can face?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, first of all, I mean, I think that, being happy with who you are and how you look and things like that is very important. And I don't think that anybody should be nasty to anyone based on how they look. We all look different. We all have different, aspects of our body that we'd like to change.
Yeah, of course.
And so, that's not right to do. But you are correct that in general, people that are overweight or obese have more health issues, and it's not necessarily that obesity is the disease. It's not. It's a symptom of the same thing that is causing the other things as well, right? You're eating a whole bunch of garbage that can cause you to overeat. That can cause hormonal change. Your insulin goes up, which is a storage hormone. Puts forces energy into cells. It doesn't allow it to come out of cells. It blocks lipolysis, blocks proteolysis. Now you have to keep shoveling in coal in the form of carbs to keep feeding the beast, and that's going to keep perpetuating this. It's going to keep spiking your insulin. It's going to keep forcing in energy into your cells. You're just going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, but not in a good way. You're going to grow unhealthy fat tissue and things like that.
And that's not to suggest that being skinny or being shredded, me as that perfect example of I was eating terribly while I was playing football, but I was shredded. So clearly not a body of health, but looked. So that's not to suggest that being skinny is healthy,
100%.
But to suggest that being obese is healthy is probably going against.
It definitely puts you, in a category where more often you'll have other metabolic issues. But there are a subsection of people. It's not the majority; it's the minority of people that are overweight or obese that are actually metabolically healthy.
Okay.
Right. And so, but that's the minority. There are more people who are overweight and obese that are unwell.
And why are they like metabolically? Are they just people who store fat differently or something like that? Or
can be, but also, there's a difference between eating, starches and things like that and eating sugar and fructose and seed oils. Right. And so you can put on weight if you're triggering that insulin response with different sort of carbohydrates or it's very, very hard to overeat on a carnivore diet because your body just stops accepting it. It just starts tasting bad, and that because it has negative feedback on the food that you're eating. If you're eating something good for you, it's supposed to have negative feedback. You're really hungry, tastes amazing, your body's like, get this in you. But that gives a negative feedback so that the next bite tastes less good, and then less good, and then less good, and then less good. And finally, it doesn't taste really good at all. And you just go, I'm not really interested in eating anymore. You're not stuffed going, I can't eat anymore. It's like, I don't really want to eat anymore. You can keep pushing that. But you have to force yourself. And I've talked to people that don't understand that relationship. And they say, like, well, it's really hard for me because it takes me 2 hours to finish a meal. I get halfway through and then my body just wants me to stop. It's like, okay, stop.
Yeah.
And so
it's your body telling you, I've had enough.
I did that last night because I I just had this big pack of steaks and I cooked them all,
right.
and then got to the last one. And I was like, I'm not eating it, but I really don't want to eat this thing.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And so, if you're eating what you're supposed to eat, you should be able to listen to your satiety signals and hunger signals, right? Unfortunately, when we're eating things that we're not really designed to eat, that disrupts our hormones and it disrupts our satiety signals, like blocking leptin with raised insulin and putting us into a fat storage metabolism as opposed to a fat burning metabolism. And so this is going to be different. So maybe you can put on a bit of extra weight, but you're not eating the things that are so damaging to your body, like the seed oils and like the fructose and other sorts of processed garbage.
Okay.
But having some pasta every night as opposed to donuts and cookies and crap like that.
And so does that 20-ish minute delay that I've read about in your brain recognizing being satiated, and I guess a throwback to a time back when we were Neanderthals trying to scavenge for food, and we might not have food for 3 or 4 days, so we have to eat more to make sure we're, as far as I've read, that's a response for. But would that have a negative effect now, or is that true, or is that?
Well, I mean, look, that's something that was put forward because people were clearly eating more than they expressly needed, and they said, well, that must have been because you just eat whenever you can, and you just eat as much as you can because there might be a famine next day.
Yeah,
that doesn't really make sense, because you don't see animals doing that. And you don't see humans doing that in the wild. You don't see the Inuit doing that. Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys. And so, when you had like the Native Americans, they would do a buffalo drop. They'd scare a herd of buffalo, bison over a cliff. They'd all crash and burn. They had food for the year, right? There was so they could easily just overeat and just gorge themselves and all that sort of stuff.
But they didn't.
They didn't. King Lion gets to eat before any other lion gets to eat, right? It's called the lion's share. He eats as much of what he wants as he wants before anyone else gets to touch it. Right. And so he's eating that. He's going for the fattiest parts, fat around the organs, the belly fat, stuff like that. And then at some point he just goes, okay, I'm done. And then the other animals get in. He could just gorge himself puking, but he doesn't. Why? Why does he stop? Why is a koala who's just sitting in a eucalyptus tree?
Yeah.
That's just, unlimited resources. Why do they stop? Because there's something in them that tells them that's enough. That's all you need. We have that too. It's just that we're eating the wrong things and it disrupts our hormones. We know that now. We know through biochemistry, what is going on there, what the actual mechanisms are. And so, the idea is, well, we probably just were overeating is just telling you, but then why would there be satiety at all? Why wouldn't you just have this voracious hunger? There are medical conditions that people, like pica, that you just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. Now, pregnant women can do this. They eat like inappropriate things like dirt. But there's other people that have other genetic or congenital issues that they really can't stop themselves from eating, and they just eat and eat and eat and eat. And you have to literally, there was one of these kids that went to my school when I was growing up, and his mom had to literally padlock the refrigerator because he would get in there, he would just eat everything, and he would just keep going and keep going and keep going. He really couldn't stop himself, right? So, we have satiety signals for something. At some point, our body's telling us to stop. Why would it overshoot the mark? Why would millions of years of evolution have just messed that up for us and no other animal, right?
Yeah, right.
And so, it's because we're eating something that we're not designed to eat. Now, if you're going in and you're eating seasonal fruit, right? And it's coming in, it's there for 2 weeks out of the year, and you sort of eat that can cause you to say, pack this in, get a little bit extra fat or something like that to store up because winter's coming.
Yeah,
that might have been an advantage, But, having that access all year round, every single day, all the time, that's not an advantage, right? And when you don't have that exposure, your body's telling you, yep, this is how much we need, right? And, a lot of people, especially during the ice ages, were in these areas. They didn't have fruit. They didn't have honey. They were on ice floes and things like that. And there was just a lot of ice and mammoths. And that was sort of why we were there. When the ice floes were coming down, the fossil record shows that we were actually moving up into the ice. And people will say, oh, no, we were just moving towards the equator where the fruit was. No, we weren't.
Yeah, right.
We were going up north where the megafauna was, right? And so, if you're eating what you're supposed to eat, you should be able to listen to your hunger signals. If you are not able to do that, then that's a sign that you're eating the wrong thing. If you need a calculator to figure out what to eat, you're probably eating the wrong thing.
So what do they do? What's happening in our brain and the hormone changes that are that happen? Because if we're eating the wrong foods, I guess that's affecting our hormones, our testosterone levels, a few things like that.
A lot of things.
What's happening in the brain? What's happening in the body that's stopping our satiated feelings?
I think I seen on I think it was Triple J had Dr. Carl talking about they deliberately did it for McDonald's and stuff. There's the mix that you'd have enough with just the salt. So but the sugar with the salt meant that you wanted it more.
Okay.
Or there was a mix either way. I can't remember which way it was, but it was a deliberate tactic that kind of works, where if they didn't have the other one, then you would eat half and be like, that's too much.
Well, that's what food science is, right? Food science is not about making things nutritious and wonderful and good for us. Food science is about making things palatable and have a long shelf life. And so it's the science of making processed food an available product, like a Twinkie that's going to survive, the nuclear holocaust. And so, that's what food science is about. Now we think it's just like, oh, these scientists are figuring out what the best thing for us to eat is. That is a lovely thought. That's not what their interest is in. Their interest is in finding something that's highly palatable that people eat, that will continue to have them, eating more of it, right? So when an example of that would be McDonald's, they normally would fry their fries, chips in beef tallow, right, for decades, and everyone's like, oh, these are the best chips ever. And then they were like, okay, we need to get away from that. The trans fats, people didn't like them. They were like, well, these are crap, and we don't like these. So they started adding in beef flavoring into the trans fats, and they're like, oh, we like these again. So it's the science of making things more palatable and have a longer shelf life. And there's some other things that go in there as well, but it has nothing to do with with giving us proper nutrition and health. Yeah. And it's just it's not they're not out for us. We need to have our own back. We put way too much trust in institutions and governments and other people with vested interests that may not align with ours for our health and our well-being. And that's something that's very dangerous to do. And you can do it for a while when you have Western countries, like in Australia and America and the UK and Europe and things like that. For a long time, we've had establishment of the people that have really been like, we don't like this totalitarian crap, and we're going to keep an eye on you. And, like in France, we're going to behead your ass, if you muck around. And in America, we fought wars and all these sorts of things. A lot of wars have been fought to give people the independence and the rights to just live their own life.
Yep.
And we've had that for so long, and we've gotten very, very used to it and lazy. And we think that, oh yeah, that can never come again. Those bad times are gone. Those bad times are right around the corner if you let them.
Yep.
And so now we're very, complacent, and we think that everyone has their best interest at heart. Oh, they wouldn't do. Who's they?
Yeah.
Yeah. They are people that have a vested interest in their own products and their own agendas. A very good example of this. We're talking about whether this was like sort of a nefarious coup to like damage people and things like that. I think that certainly doctors are not trying to damage people. No, I think that a lot of nutritionists, they just like, hey, this is what they're taught and this is what's out there. Lifestyle medicine, we talked about this sort of off air. That's a specialty in medicine. It sounds great, address the lifestyle management, get people eating healthy, get them exercising, and you can hopefully get them healthy and not need these medications. Brilliant idea. I'm all for it. I'm in that camp. The problem with that is lifestyle medicine as a specialty, that you can get board certified in this, was founded by the Seventh-day Adventist Church in 2003. So again, we come back to the Seventh-day Adventist Church infiltrating the medical establishment, the nutritional establishment for their own agendas. And they say, oh yeah, you need to just eat healthy and do this. What is eat healthy to them? Vegan, vegetarian, eat more, plant foods, eat less meat, and exercise. So again, it comes back to these institutions trying to push an agenda on us. Now, there's a religious agenda, but there's also a financial agenda. The major thing that I think, that people should really be wary of is obviously food industry being invested in the pharmaceutical industry and vice versa. That's okay. Well, that's a bit suspicious, right? Because you're feeding people something that may be making them sick, and now you're selling them the cure. But that's just, maybe a conspiracy theory or something like that, or maybe just that doesn't feel good to me.
Yes.
Here's something that really is not good. Kellogg's is vertically integrated. And this is something I learned from Dr. Fetke recently, and he and his wife have just done a lot of work in this. That they're vertically integrated, which is great business model. I think that's a good thing to do. So they grow their own crops that make their own processed crap, and they ship this out. It's all vertically integrated. They own all the steps in the chain, right? Mm-hmm. One of the steps that they also own is they're actually involved in making pharmaceuticals. What pharmaceuticals are they making? They're making diabetes medication. They're making blood sugar lowering medication, right? So they're growing the crops, making the processed crap, selling, paying for the research, paying for the politicians to push this crap out, paying, writing the curriculum in nutritional sciences to make you eat this garbage.
And then having the cure.
And then selling you the medicine that they know is going to be a consequence of eating this crap. And so to me, that makes me think that they know exactly what they're damn well doing. And honestly, that at that point, I think that's criminal. When you're causing diabetes, you're causing extreme morbidity, early death, mortality. And I mean, just put it in these terms, when you're eating a whole bunch of sugar and carbs and all this sort of crap, your risk of gestational diabetes goes up. When you have gestational diabetes, much higher rates of miscarriage and birth defects. So you're literally killing kids, right? So this is something that they know. This is well documented and illustrated in the literature, that you can hurt people and damage them with diabetes. They can die early, and you can kill kids, right? You can kill babies. So if you know that that's happening and you're knowingly pushing this crap out there, how is that not criminal? How is that not ripe for a criminal investigation? I think it should be, and that fact that they've vertically integrated diabetes medication on top of the diabetes causing crap that they're pushing out there, it speaks volumes to me, at least. And I don't think that, I don't have any proof of their intentions, but it's pretty damn suspicious.